Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Breathes there a man with soul so dead, who never to himself hath said, "This is my own, my native land." These fine words from Walter Scott have never been uttered by any Australian head of state about Australia. Under our Constitution, they never could be uttered. And that is because, Deputy Speaker, while no British citizen can ever be Australia's head of government, only a British citizen can ever be Australia's head of state. This bill brings the monarchy into the 19th century. It ensures that the sexism inherent in the current arrangements is no longer present, that a firstborn girl can succeed in preference to her younger brother. It ensures that marrying a Catholic is no longer a bar to ascending to our head of state. But what it fails to ensure is that any of my three little boys, Sebastian, Theodore or Zachary, can one day aspire to be Australia's head of state. Or indeed that any of the 800 children born today, Deputy Speaker, could be Australia's head of state. The Republican movement has a proud history. I look to the Eureka Uprising, at which there was a strong strain of republicanism prevalent among the miners. Among the Irish, it's appropriate we acknowledge this on St Patrick's Day, they were Republican because of their hereditary hatred of the English. The Americans were Republican because of their long history of struggle against the British. And many of the Europeans bore Republican sympathies, having lived through the 1848 revolutions that swept Europe. When we look back at the Eureka Charter, it is so easy to understand how republicanism was fired up among those who came to the shores of Australia, a nation where they quickly recognised that Jack wasn't just as good as his master, but perhaps better. Here in the ACT, of course, we're natural republicans, the one jurisdiction that in 1999 voted for a republic, and of course the one jurisdiction that voted for Waltzing Matilda as our national song. In 1999, Australia held a referendum, a three-cornered contest between bipartisan parliamentary appointed Republicans, direct election Republicans and monarchists. As the member for Wentworth has pointed out, the monarchists delightedly, if cynically, exploited the division by promising the direct electionists that if the parliamentary model was defeated to the referendum, they could have another referendum on a direct election model within a few years. Within a few years, Deputy Speaker. It's been half a generation since then. And some, like the previous Speaker, counsel patience. They argue that the push for an Australian as head of state should wait until King Charles III ascends the throne. But, Deputy Speaker, that fundamentally misunderstands the argument for an Australian republic. Our quibble isn't with Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Charles and their heirs and successors. Each of those individuals has done their job diligently. Indeed, a belief in a republic doesn't lessen our respect for them as individuals. In 2012, when Prince Charles and Duchess of Cornwall visited Canberra, I was pleased to welcome them on the tarmac of Canberra Airport, representing the government. Respect and politeness for the royal family sits alongside my passionate belief that Australia should have one of our own as head of state. I held the same courtesy in my heart as I went out to the tarmac again in last year to welcome Prince William, Kate Middleton and their baby George to Canberra, again representing the Labor Party. I took my son Sebastian out with me on the first time into the tarmac and my son Theodore the second time, because we see too little of our families in this job, and it's nice to be able to spend some time with your children when you can. It was a real delight for me to have my son Theodore meet their son George. But I thought about it at the time. Why is it that baby George is better suited than every Australian baby to grow up to be Australia's head of state? The 800 babies born in Australia today will grow up around gum trees and sandy beaches. They'll call their friends mate and they'll barrack for the baggy greens, the wallabies and the socceroos. Their success in life, Deputy Speaker, won't be decided by their surname. And if they say they're living in a castle, it'll be because they're quoting Dale Kerrigan. In short, every one of the 800 babies born today will be Australians. And every one of them should be able to aspire to be our head of state.